I just wanted to say before we start the video today, there's going to be a visual effect going on all of the DSP parts of this video. It's just going to be a little bit of money raining from the sky the entire time. This is a clip from Duty Streams, which big shout out to Duty Streams. I really appreciate the clip. But for whatever reason, if you find that distracting, you don't like the way it looks, I would highly recommend that you become an audio style viewer today. But I just wanted to say something before the video came up, and then people went to the comments and were asking me why there was money falling from the sky. But now that we got that cleared up, let's move on with the video.
Okay, so let's do that, shall we? Yeah. All right, so guys, real quick, all right? As you know, I'm very different from many other content creators out there. Why?
Because he refuses to listen to any suggestion that anybody's ever given him. Because he's so stubborn, hard-headed, and stuck in his ways to actually upgrade the quality of his streams at all, making it so that he's constantly about 5 years behind everybody else on the internet. He's also different in the sense that he's constantly begging, because he thinks it's some sort of virtuous act to put all of the financial weight of his business on the dent's shoulders instead of making some company pay for it by doing paid sponsorships or ad reads. Just thought I'd give it to you straight before we had to start listening to dark side propaganda read his speech.
Because the kind of content that I do is very different, all right? There's no gratuitous plugs in my content. There's no paid for product placements. There's no sponsorships. There's no partnerships. There's no, hey, referral code, buy this product and click the code and give me money for it and stuff like that. I am old school.
Is that what we're calling it now when we refuse to do any sort of self-improvement whatsoever? We're calling it old school? All right, I'll write that down. I might use that later. And to say that there's no gratuitous plugs in his segments is absolutely ludicrous and a lie. Because every single time he shows out that he's a one-man show and that he needs support because he's a self-made business or whatever, that is a gratuitous plug. That's an unearned self-plug that he just shoves in whenever he feels like it. It's kind of the definition of a gratuitous plug. But he's right, there is no paid product placements. Because he'd much rather do those for free. Any product that he pays for, he's willing to show on stream and talk about it as if they paid him money for absolutely nothing. I don't know if that's something that I would particularly be flexing about, but DSP's his own individual and he's kind of a special guy.
All right, I'm of the impression that if you watch my content and you enjoy it, you will probably want to support it because you like that content and you want it to continue, so you finance its continuation through crowdfunding. Okay?
And I don't necessarily think that DSP is all wrong when he says that. There's definitely people who enjoy content so much that they are willing to support financially like that. And for all of those people, I absolutely appreciate you, and please don't feel inclined to do that. Only do so if you absolutely want to. But DSP seems to be under the assumption that everybody that enjoys the content pretty much has to support financially. It's not enough to just watch the video, like the video, comment under the video, and watch the ads that he absolutely put on the video. No, he wants you to send money directly to his bank account, please. Because that's what real fans do as far as DSP is concerned. If you don't directly send DSP money to his PayPal, you aren't a real fan. You clearly don't enjoy the content like you say you do. Because if you did, you'd show some of that appreciation financially, right? That's just such a disgusting attitude to have towards the people who actually enjoy your content.
That's my model. That's how it's worked for me for the longest time. And I appreciate everyone who does support my content and that mantra. Because I don't want my content to become paid for content where it always says sponsorship, paid promotion included in this video. Here's a giant plug in the middle of my video, buy this. I don't want to have a podcast where the entire border of the podcast is plugs and junk blinking in your face so it looks like you're staring at some kind of an advertisement billboard.
No, because it's such a better idea to just have a bunch of irrelevant shit all over your border instead of something that'll actually make you money. And I know that he says that he doesn't want to do that, but I wonder how much of that really comes down to just companies not wanting to work with him in general, so it's not even an opportunity that he has, as well as the fact that he would actually have to update his border semi-regularly, and that means that he would have to do some sort of work. Because we all know that DSP doesn't actually design his own borders for his streams, because he isn't willing to put in whatever work it really requires to do that. So he would have to ask the dents to keep up, again, semi-regularly with the new codes that he's using for his sponsorships or with new sponsors coming in and out. So to quote 672, too much work. DSP is not willing to put in the time and effort that it would actually take to keep up with the border like that, even though it's really not that complicated anyway. But this is the same guy who was unwilling to pull up a picture on his OBS so he can actually show it to his audience. He'd rather just hold his phone up to the camera.
Like we've seen when I've seen some of these other people's fucking podcasts on this very show, or I'm reacting to others in documentaries and stuff. You look at it, you're like, wow. So you know why they do their podcast, right? Because if it weren't for all of that, they wouldn't even be sitting there. They're only there for all of that so that, you know, they fucking fill their pockets, right?
No, DSP, they found a fairly unintrusive way to actually get paid for the content they make while still making the content that the people want to see. Instead of stopping multiple minutes every single hour to talk about how you can support the stream, they can just use a border and you can ignore it. Because eventually you'll just phase out whatever is on the side of the screen that you don't care about anyway. I would argue that it's far more distracting that you actually stop everything you're doing on a stream to audibly tell people that they need to support and that it would really help you out and that you haven't hit the tips goal. Because all of the content comes to a crashing halt as soon as you have to do that. That's what's truly intrusive. It has nothing to do with the border that's around the video. But I have to point out that we're talking about a guy who got distracted during the Turkey Tom response because he was playing some unrelated video game footage in the back. DSP couldn't just ignore the video game footage, he got distracted by it. So it really shouldn't come to anybody's shock that he's distracted by a border that he doesn't have to look at.
So I don't like that, and you know that. I'm totally against that. No bullshit on this channel.
Dude, this entire channel is nothing but bullshit. You're out of your mind if you think it's anything else.
Thank you to those who understand that and support this content, all right? If you like my content, there's many, many ways that you can support it. I would say today, the two major things that would really help, number one, I'm trying to get this channel to stay above 500 members. We keep hitting it, and then it keeps dipping below overnight. And this has happened, no exaggeration, I believe 4 times in the last week.
And you haven't gotten the hint yet that maybe you don't actually have 500 different people who want to maintain their membership? It hasn't clicked in your brain that there's not 500 people who want to be members? It's baffling to me that you essentially force people to become members by having so many gifted subs. People who don't want to be members are then gifted memberships they didn't ask for. And that's why you have so many LARPers as members. If you just hang around in a DSP stream long enough, you're bound to get gifted a membership. And then you have way more sway when it comes to his actual content. He went on and on about how the detractors rigged to pull that last Amnesia game he played because nobody wanted to see that and they knew it would cause him to have slow streams. But even though there's no evidence to say that that's the truth, I wouldn't be surprised if it was, given how many fake DSP fans are given memberships all the time. They could just use that to all mass vote on a game that they know nobody wants to see and is not interested in to mess with the guy. And he has no one to blame but himself because he's just enabling this behavior by constantly asking for other people to gift memberships because, you know, it's the season of giving and all.
We hit 500 members, and then we go below, and then we get above, and then we go below, and then we go above. So, 'tis the season, as they say.
Oh, Jesus, he really did it. I was just referencing a thing that he typically says. I didn't expect him to actually say it right after I did. It just goes to show you how predictable this guy is, that he says the same things every single day on stream. That's why they're all a big waste of time. He does the same segments every day.
If you like this channel and its content, perhaps you would consider gifting some memberships to your fellow viewer. It's a way not only to help out me in the business, but also to help out everyone else around here of the community. I'm sure they would appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm sure the LARPers would really appreciate a gifted membership so that they don't have to be in slow chat anymore. That way they can sneak this DSP just that much faster.
You know, and I would really hope that by the end of today we could get above 500 again. My goal is 510, but if we could just get above 500, that would be great.
If you're not above 500, why would your goal be 510? I don't understand. I mean, none of the goals ever actually make sense, especially with memberships, because there's no benefit to him hitting the members goal. It just makes him feel good, I guess. But it's not even like he puts on the silly glasses and the hat and the vest. Like, there's actually no benefit to hitting the members goal. At least if you get 100 likes, you get a bubble blow. Somebody tell DSP that he needs some sort of member goal reward or something, because as it stands, there's really no reason to hit the members goal at all.
It certainly would be very beneficial, okay? And I would love to maintain that if possible. Now, the other thing is that my goal is to hit the tier 1 tips goal on every stream that I do, which is $50.
Of course, he had to do the big point down. You guys remember when he said that we weren't supposed to be pocket watching him and that we weren't supposed to care about the numbers? But multiple times since then, he has pointed down specifically at the numbers. But if we're not supposed to care about them, why are you directly pointing at them? Why are you casting everybody's eyes specifically to the tips goal if we're not supposed to care about the numbers? Dang, it's almost like you only said that because it fit your narrative at the time and that you do actually want people to care about the numbers, but only in a positive, meaningful, curated style.
Okay? Sometimes we hit it, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we go above it, sometimes we don't even get close to it. It really depends on the game or whatever.
And we've already talked about this before, so I'm not going to sit here and dwell on it, but that definitely shouldn't be the case. People should enjoy you and your personality enough that they show up regardless of what the game is because they like you that much. That's kind of the goal of being an online content creator. And while of course that's not always how it works out, that should be your goal. You should try and be entertaining enough by yourself that regardless of what is going on around you, that people still want to see you.
I would definitely say, in regards to Sundays, like when it has the React Day, and now I'm playing Starfield tonight, I'll be honest, I'm not expecting that much today. I'm thinking today's going to be a slower day when it comes to support, and that's okay.
So DSP is constantly equating how much people are enjoying the stream directly to how much he is being financially compensated. And he has said multiple times now that there are streams and games that he knows just aren't going to get the same amount of support. So if we're following DSP logic here, wouldn't it make sense that he knows then that there are games that people just aren't enjoying? Which leads us to the only natural conclusion in my eyes, which is why are you still playing these games then, DSP? If you like these games and your audience doesn't, you need to be playing them offline. I can say that as much as I want and you'll never listen, but it's the absolute truth. If nobody wants to see you beat Starfield and you insist that you have to beat it, then you need to play it offline. Do not waste these people's time with content that they don't care about. I just feel like that's the only respectful thing that you can do in that situation. Why would you want to waste your audience's time? And like I said, the enjoyment of the stream really shouldn't be based entirely on what game he's playing. But if the game that he is playing is directly having a negative impact on the entertainment value, on the enjoyment level, then you gotta get the game gone, dude. Just treat your audience with some sort of decency and respect. That's really all I'm asking. I feel like that's all I'm ever really asking for, honestly.
We've had a week where support's been great, so I'm not going to sit here and cry about it, you know, if it ends up being a slow day, but certainly it would be great if it wasn't.
Yes, DSP, I'm sure that everybody agrees with you. It would be great if I made $1 million every single day. It would be great if every time I went to work, they would have to pay me $100 an hour. That would be fantastic. It kind of goes without saying, which means that you really shouldn't be saying it because, again, you're just wasting our time.
It would be great if we could hit the tier 1 goal today, and if we could have all this extra stuff going on, you know, getting some members and stuff. That'd be amazing, all right? And particularly when I start broadcasting over on the DSP Reacts channel, and we're doing the React show, remember that all that support goes towards that channel and makes my React content viable to do.
Because we all know with DSP that if a piece of content isn't directly making him profits, it's not worth doing. So you have to make the channel viable so that he'll continue to do the content that you say that you want to see, that he swears that he loves to do. Which if he really loved doing it as much as he says he would just do it because he likes to do it. That tends to be how things work when you enjoy something, that you would do it regardless of whether you get paid for it. That's why I play video games in my free time and nobody pays me to do it and nobody even watches, but DSP plays video games only on the clock. He can't be bothered to play a video game off the clock because he doesn't enjoy them. And that's why he's constantly threatening to take away the React channel if it's not viable, if you guys don't support it. Because the second that he doesn't find it profitable enough in his gin brain for him to justify continuing to do it, he's absolutely going to get rid of it. Regardless of how many people swear to him that they absolutely love the content. Because it's never actually about making content that his audience loves. It's always about making content that's the lowest effort for the maximum amount of profit.
So please consider when we go over there, maybe the same thing, maybe give some memberships, maybe a tip. All that would help a ton over on that channel as well, okay? So that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to sit here and harp about it. Maybe every once in a while during my streams today, I'll bring it up again.
He says he's not going to sit here and harp on it, but we're almost 4 minutes into this segment, unsped up minutes I want to specify, and that's the reason I didn't speed it up, was because I wanted this to be accurate. But 4 minutes of this Begment. But he's not going to sit here and harp on it. This is way less intrusive than the border that he could have just had running the entire time that he did his normal pre-stream. He thinks that trading 4 of his audience's valuable minutes of life on this planet is far more worth it than just having some shit on the side of the screen that they can just ignore. I'll just never understand how he can justify that in his head. Because while it's only 4 minutes now, it's also 4 minutes the next hour, and the hour after that, and the hour after that, because he begs at least once an hour, sometimes twice. At least from the few times that I've tracked him begging, it's about once an hour.
But I just want to get it out of the way. You know, this is literally how I do business. This is not me. This is when you see all those misrepresentations of, oh, Phil is just constantly bringing this up. No, I'm not. It's a complete lie.
If someone is doing something once an hour, I think it's a fair depiction to say that they're doing it all of the time. For example, if you were at an actual workplace and somebody was going to take a piss break every hour, that'd probably get pretty irritating pretty quickly, and you would be telling people that they are constantly taking piss breaks. If you're on an 8-hour car ride and somebody stops you every single hour to pull over to the side of the road so that they can get something to eat because they're hungry, you would probably describe them as constantly eating. So let's not act like 4 minutes out of every single hour for begging isn't also constantly begging. And yes, of course, if you use the word constantly literally, then yes, he's not constantly begging, but nobody actually means it literally.
What they do is they take the few moments that I do bring it up and they make a montage of it and act like, because I brought it up 5 times over the course of 8 to 10 hours of streaming.
No, you're underestimating DSP. You're underselling exactly how often you do it. Don't do that. Just tell the truth. It's about once an hour at least. Sometimes twice an hour, and that's awful.
That's like all I did that day, which is a complete and utter lie and misrepresentation for scumbag purposes. You know. It's pretty usual, right? So, anyway,
I just want to point out how much filler that was back to back. And I know he does it all of the time, but for some reason it really stuck out to me that he took a sip, said, yeah, that's pretty usual, then hit you with the so anyway, and then cleared his throat. You probably could have cut out that entire section and nobody would have been the wiser and the content would have been much better for it. But of course, he's just stalling for time because he's hitting somebody with the lean-in manual ban right now. And what would a DSP stream really be without a couple lean-in manuals, you know?
That being said,
hey, shout out that being said, I was just on there not that long ago. Big ups.
Thank you in advance to anyone who supports my content in any way. I really appreciate that. As of now, we don't have anything, but if anything comes in by the end of the podcast, I will do shout outs and answer any questions or anything that comes in via people who support the stuff. Okay? Sounds good? Okay.
And he just did it again. Okay? Sounds good? Okay. It's just such a nothing sentence. Dude, just move on with what you have to say. Talk about something else. Don't use all of this filler.
Oh, see, Chakak says, you'd be dumb not to bring it up on a consistent basis. How is that a bad thing? It's a business.
You gotta appreciate DSP's ability to find the one person who's LARPing in chat that's actually agreeing with his regarded ass opinions. It's about the only thing he's actually good at, so you gotta appreciate it at least a little bit.
Because you have to understand, not everyone who does my content like me is considered a lolcow who gets harassed by people constantly to try to get a rise. So here's the thing. If you haven't noticed, in the last few years, when people say bad things about me, I ignore them. I don't pay attention to it at all. I don't address it. I don't particularly bring it up.
Yeah, is that why you're constantly bringing up how you stay out of drama since the Side Scrollers interview, because you don't like to bring it up? Is that how we got multiple pre-stream rants about Turkey Tom, one of which being an actual hour long? Is that because you don't like to bring it up as well? It's just amazing that he's willing to get on stream and blatantly lie in front of everybody when the evidence is clear as day. There's actual records of DSP doing the very thing that he claims he doesn't do. It's like having actual video footage of a crime being committed being played in a courtroom and the defendant still saying that they didn't do it, when everyone can clear as day see that this is exactly what happened.
So what's happened is now they have to go out of their way to lie to say bad things about me because they don't get the reaction from me anymore. So they have to create slander in order to get any kind of attention on their content.
But the only person lying in this situation is DSP, because the detractors do not have to lie to make DSP sound like a bad person, to acknowledge that he is a bad person, because he is constantly making himself look horrible online, and all they do is point it out. All they do is draw attention to it. All they do is repeat the things that he's saying and point out the flaws in his logic. None of that is lying, and it's most definitely not slander. But DSP is the same person who calls This Is How You Don't Play slander, because they took his raw gameplay footage, made a montage out of it, and he didn't like it. He somehow construes that to be lying, slanderous, malicious content. So I'm not surprised that he doesn't understand what lying actually is, or maybe he wouldn't do it so much.
So since I'm not going to specifically address anything anyone says about me that's negative, they will instead make montages that are completely misrepresentative and things like that. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my god, I can't believe I'm 2 for 2 today. I promise I didn't watch this beforehand. I actually missed this entire pre-stream and the react that followed it. Earlier, I mentioned him bringing up the season forgiving, and then he did. This time I bring up this is how you don't plays and them being montages, and then he brings them up. Maybe this is just a sign that I'm too deep in the snore text, though. I probably shouldn't be as excited as I am.
They do it all the time. I mean, it's every day. I hear about it every day. I don't see it because I don't pay attention to it. But you're right. You know, today, what did I do? I did one plug segment. Probably by the end of this stream, this podcast, I'll say it one more time. I'll probably bring it up when we get to the React channel because there may be a new audience there.
But right there, he's already acknowledging that he's going to be begging 3 times in 3 hours. He said it himself. He's already done one plug segment on the pre-stream. He's going to do a second one at the end, and then he's going to do a third plug segment when they actually go over to DSP Reacts. So that's actually 3 begs in less than 3 hours because the pre-stream is only 2 hours, and it doesn't take him a whole nother hour to get over to DSP Reacts. And of course, he's not going to even count any sneak begs or subtle begs that he does because he's so far into denial, he probably doesn't even know that he's doing them at this point.
And probably every once in a while, I'll bring up how to suggest, you know, supporting that channel. Tonight on Starfield, I'll probably bring it up once or twice. So yeah, over the course of me streaming from 10:45 a.m. to, you know, past 9 p.m. at night, so you're talking, if you add that up, it's probably 8 to 10 hours of straight streaming. I'll probably bring it up 5 to 7 times, and it'll all be like maybe like 30-second mentions, right? Which I feel is pretty darn reasonable.
No, because you're wrong. They're not 30-second segments. This segment alone is 6.5 minutes, not sped up. Now, I don't think that every one of those Begments is going to be 6.5 minutes, but doing any amount of time after doing 6.5 minutes of nonstop begging, that's totally uncalled for. That's totally unjustifiable in every way, shape, and form. If you took this one Begment and divided the entire time across the entire stream, maybe you could get away with that and it wouldn't be nearly as egregious. But again, only maybe.
Okay? But that's not what they'll say. Instead, they'll just edit all that together and be like, haha, this is all he does all day. Did you not see the other 10 hours of content? No, they did, but they don't care. So, this is what I mean. I ignore all their bullshit. I ignore their nonsense. I'm not going to address it. I don't take the bait.
He ignores all of it. He doesn't take the bait. He doesn't address it. That's why he just spent a period of time talking about it on his pre-stream like he does every single day. Because that's obviously something that you do when you don't care about things and you don't address them. You bring them up anyway. Sound good? Sounds good to me. And by the way, Cat agrees.
That's why they really don't like me anymore. Because remember, they used to say that I was a lolcow, that I would take the bait all the time, and I would constantly be bringing it up. I would actually bring up, here's what they said about me, and I'd show it on stream, and this is bullshit because of this. I don't do that anymore. I don't care. They say whatever they want. Doesn't make it true. And you have to be an ignorant idiot to believe it. The problem is there's a lot of ignorant idiots on the internet who only want to believe negative stuff because they're dumb. I mean, they're just immature. So there's nothing you can really do about it. It will always exist. But I ignore it. Okay.
Yeah, DSP, you're doing such a good job ignoring it. You should keep doing exactly what you're doing because you're so successful at it. But that's going to be the end of today's video. I really appreciate all of you guys toughing it out with me, watching this Begment together. I'm sure that most of you are aware by now that when it comes to watching the guy content, you kind of have to watch a Begment every once in a while. It just comes with the territory. Again, big shout out to Duty Streams for the clip in this one. I really appreciate it, brother. Thank you, thank you. And as always, big ups to all of you guys for watching the video. I really appreciate it, especially you guys that made it this far. I really do appreciate that as well. Hopefully I'll catch all of you guys in the next video, but until then, make sure that you check out other detractor channels and dive deeper into that snore text.